Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. Wife had an affair with another man for 30 years and expects me to give her another chance at being a good wife. I am 61 years old and my wife is 59. She started her affair in 1990. We had been married for 14 years. We had bought a brand new house in 1985 and our life together was absolutely amazing. We enjoyed each other in every way, and I have never been as happy as I was during that time. She constantly raved about our closeness, and we would spend entire weekends lying in bed together, enjoying every part of each other, and building a bond that I believed could never be broken. We were the true definition of soulmates, and both had good paying jobs and took a 2-week vacation to Hawaii to celebrate our anniversary in 1986. No two people have ever been closer. This continued until 1988, when she approached me about having children. Our first son was born in 1989. Like many couples, we didn't want an only child, so we planned on getting pregnant again within the next 2 years. My wife got pregnant in July of 1990. I had no idea that my life was about to explode. It was September of 1990, and I got a call at work that I needed to go see my wife at the hospital. After arriving, I found my wife and asked her what was going on. She stated that she was having some vaginal bleeding, and being pregnant went to the emergency room. She was all right, and they prescribed bed rest. She would have to take off work. The doctor asked me if we had just had intercourse, and I told him I had been at work. He didn't say any more, and neither did my wife. She later related to me that this was her first time with the other man and it had been a little rough. We returned home and argued about the doctor's intercourse remark for the next few days. I had a sneaking suspicion who the other man was. We were involved in a side business with my brother-in-law, who had just separated from my sister when he was caught molesting his own 14-year-old niece. I'm sure you all know this guy. He's the one always complimenting your wife and shaking your hand. Not wanting to subject my 1-year-old son to this, I decided I would stay in a hotel for a while. Terribly missing my wife and son, I went home most evenings to visit my wife and son and returned home within 2 weeks. Things seemed to get better, or so I thought. We would even make love, very gently. My mother would come to take my son on Mondays so my wife could get some rest. What I didn't know was that as soon as my mother left, they were getting together in either my own home or his apartment. Keep in mind that this was before the days of cell phones and the internet, so it was easier to hide. Keep in mind that I thought we had got through our bad times and she had agreed it would never happen again. Less than a year later, we moved to another house, by my wife's suggestion, next door to my parents. It only made sense since Grandma would be easily available to watch our 2 boys. My wife's affair moved with us, so we settled in with our 2-year-old and 14-month-old son. But within several months, I was struck by lightning again. My wife asked me to go to the doctor with her because she needed a minor procedure done. When we arrived, I went back with my wife and held her hand while she had genital warts removed. Please, folks, never trust a doctor to really explain what's going on due to doctor-patient laws. Before we left, I grabbed a pamphlet about them. This was HPV, which is an STD, and I didn't have HPV. The doctor didn't even ask me to get tested. We returned home and had a huge argument. We went to a marriage counselor who asked her if she wanted to remain married, and she told him she didn't. It was agreed that she would move out. I was left with a 14-hour-a-day job, my 2-year-old son, and an infant, and I put the deposit down on her apartment. They could now have what they wanted. They could be together, but I denied her the divorce, telling her we needed time apart to make a sound decision, which would take time for both of us to sort out. So now, I was waking up at 3 in the morning, getting my 2 sons ready and dropping them off at my mother's next door at 4 a.m., and heading to work. My wife was occasionally dropping by in the evenings to spend a little time with our boys, and I was quickly getting worn out. This continued for a couple of months, until at one of my wife's visits, she noticed how bad I looked and asked me if she could help out. We agreed she could come over at 4 a.m. and help get the boys ready and then take them to Grandma's at 6 a.m. Not 2 weeks later, my wife shows up at my door after work crying, saying she is sorry and we need to work on our marriage and how much she wants to be a good wife to me and a good mother to our children. I thought about it a day or two after we laid down the ground rules. She agreed there would be no more affair and she would be the wife she was supposed to be. It was going to be rough, but I felt a good chance that I could get my wife back. The affair had now been going for over 2 years. Unknown to me, it was far from over. It took some time, but things looked like my soulmate had come back to me. We were close again. We were friends and lovers. I was convinced the other man was out of the picture. I even agreed to let her quit her job and be a full-time mother. Our home life was great with friends and family over for the holidays. Everyone had a great time. But shortly after my wife started as a full-time mom, it became apparent something was wrong. She not only was yelling at the kids, but it appeared she actually hated her own children. In hindsight, I'm convinced she was lashing out because they were making it harder for her to continue with the other man. I would come home to find I was now my children's protector and not a husband and father. Arguments now became an everyday occurrence. I could not reason with her. She just wasn't happy and wanted everyone to know, and my children were being left with my mother more and more. I asked what was going on and if she was still seeing the other man, but she would just continue to lie. Yes, she loved me. Yes, she loved the kids. No, she wasn't seeing the other man, and if I didn't have proof, I needed to stop bringing it up and hurting her feelings. She told me she was mad all the time because she felt I didn't trust her. I would later find out that she was not only seeing the other man, but she would take my children with her to meet him at the park, museum, picnics, etc. She was being a good mom in her fantasy world. She even started taking the kids to church. The same church the other man attended, of course. This is where the recollections get blurry. By now, this affair had been going on for over 4 years. I believe it lasted around 10 years, and my wife hid it for over 30 years and is still trying to hide it right now. It's amazing how cheaters will try to hide behind the same lies over and over. I am staying with one of my sons trying to take this all in. My wife is at our house. I am now an old man, married to an old woman who cheated on me for 30 of our over 44 years of marriage. The worst part? I am still madly in love with this woman. I believe she only told me about the reality of what happened because of the poison she's been carrying for 30 years and the fact that we are now older. I am totally devastated. Our first comment comes from Insane Ike 22. First of all, I would hire a PI and find out all about the other man in his life. You have endured pain throughout your marriage because of him. The truth is, he never wanted to marry your wife, but have sex with her at his beck and call. If he is married, inform his wife. Do not know where you live, but see if there's legal recourse against him. I doubt there will be any. You knew about the affair and stayed in the marriage. You need to gather evidence, and her medical history will help in divorcing her. I would let her live out her life as a lonely old woman and let her know the pain she has caused you. I would tell the entire family so they can know the true person she is. Most likely, your children could not be yours. You have to realize you were only a provider to enable her to have a home to come back to. She loved this other man and did not love you. I always have believed in forgiveness, but in this case, there is no hope. Unless he is dead, she will still want him. Live out your life in peace and let her go. I can tell resentment has filled your heart with hate. Let go and let her go spend her life with regrets. The next comment comes from Kizzle25. You chose this. You knew your wife was having an affair with a man who had sexually abused a child, and you stayed with her. As a father, you failed your kids. She is a terrible person and you spent 30 years enabling her. You should have divorced her when she left you for a child abuser, but you had to make sure it was the right choice. Newsflash, it was the right choice, but you didn't want to leave her when she left her family, including being a mother for him. And you knew it. What you're going through sucks, but what did you think was going to happen? She cheated when she was pregnant and you knew it. If she was having an affair while pregnant, I'd be curious as to the paternity of the second child, since the biggest surprise in this story would be if you were the father. I know you won't care, but you should find out since a proper medical history could be valuable to your kids. She got an STD and brought you with her to get treated for it, and you held her hand and kept going. Even her admission is self-serving. She gets to free her conscience since she knows you can't leave her now. She got everything she wanted. You stayed for 30 plus years and nothing's going to change. Moving on to the next story. Wife cheated on me 5 times with 5 different guys over the past 3 years, and now she wants to tell the kids it's mutual. And now, to fill in some blanks for you. If we rewind the clock to the heady old year of 2015, that was the year I was afflicted with mystery nerve pain that ultimately caused me to quit my job and go on disability. I lived on disability for 3 years, becoming increasingly isolated and depressed. I withdrew from my wife and kids and basically only woke up each day to eat and play video games. It took a toll on my wife, who had to handle the majority of the housework and kid wrangling. Eventually, her personality began to change, and it came out that she was exchanging inappropriate texts with the male friend. My depression was so bad at the time, I finally went to the doctor to ask for meds. As it turned out, the med they put me on worked for the nerve pain and the depression. It seemed like a miracle cure, and life got better as I was able to get back to work and help out more with the house and kids. Fast forward to current day, and my wife telling me she has no feelings for me anymore and wants a divorce. What happened, you say? Well, in the past 3 years, she has cheated on me 5 separate times with 5 separate guys. Why the F am I still in this marriage, you say? Well, we have 2 beautiful kids. I'm a forgiving person, and each time I was led to believe that we could potentially work it out. Until this time, when apparently we can't. Each time one of the previous incidents occurred, I would basically halt my life and rearrange everything to accommodate my wife and attempt to make her happy. My depression was so bad and my meds were so screwed up this time that I made a suicide attempt with pills. I spent a week in the psych ward at the hospital and got things corrected, but now I have all the divorce stuff we are working through. We are basically on the same page with everything, except she wants to tell the kids that we are breaking up mutually, when the reality is that she is done with the marriage and wants to end it. All I want to do is tell the kids that mommy doesn't want to be married to daddy anymore. Is that so crazy? Shouldn't the kids at least be told some of the truth? A couple quick comments. The first one from Reddit Avenger 2019. Stand your ground on this. She needs to take some responsibility. This will be a slippery slope because as the kids get older, they will want more information. She then will be able to turn your kids against you as she feeds them more false information. She is the one who broke your vows, who chose to seek attention from the other men. And one from Springfield 2016. The truth is, you are in denial. Your marriage has been over for a long time. Cheated with 5 separate men and you stayed with her. She has no respect for you. The best thing for you and the children is a divorce. Will telling the kids this is all on mom help them feel better or just you? After they are grown, it would be okay to tell them what she has done, but really, why do you want to stay in this marriage? Unhappy parents raise unhappy children. You should want this divorce more than she does. Respect yourself, then decide what is best for the kids as their parent, not a revengeful, betrayed spouse.